Hi guys, my name is Dante, and welcome back to Overpain. And today's patient is Carl Arts, and his pretty cool stone-like golem character. Hey Dante, the idea of this painting is that some kind of demon is coming out of the ground and using the environment as its body parts or something, and I would love it if you did an overpaint of it. Thank you for making videos, they really helped me improve my art. Well, thank you, I'm really glad to hear that. Now, let's go ahead and start. Alright, so we're here for quite a lot of work actually. Obviously, there's not too much of intense details, like nothing is super defined, which is good. And we see a pretty cool, so this is a demon coming out of the ground and using actual pieces of the ground as its body or whatever it comes across. That's kind of a cool idea. Generally, I like the colors and, well, basically the design of the creature itself, if we just look at it. It's kind of interesting. There's certain struggle with, like, painting big amount of huge scale pieces of ground, because how would you, like, you literally have to paint mountains. It's not as easy as it seems, but generally the character is pretty cool. I like the magical force that's going on. One thing that I find the biggest issue in this piece is that is kind of the representation of this character, meaning the feeling of scale, maybe the pose and the way the background is just cut off like this, so it's a very two-dimensional picture. So we're gonna go ahead and mainly fight this issue. Since we have a very small amount of detail initially, like generally it's a pretty big strokes, I'm going to be using a very high textured, intense brush. Yeah, this one will do. It shows a lot of bristles and some of the canvas texture. This is a good idea if you're going to paint something more of a kind of expressive, but you're not going for like defining every tiny detail. Especially it works well when you work with nature. And in here, the whole character is just pieces of nature. When you define all these pieces of mountains and everything on the character with the very digital, kind of like sharp looking, smooth and sharp looking at the same time kind of brush, it looks very blank. Imagine if Carl would actually use this kind of brush for the stroke. If you would just see this stroke instead of this in here, it would look just a lot more satisfying, and you would be a lot more just okay with this being a final product that you're looking at, you know? So this is a good strategy. If you're going for an expressive, relatively fast painting, where you know that there will be some amount of just raw strokes left out there, it's a pretty good idea to make those strokes look cool right away as standalone strokes. So this is a good trick, I think. Now I'm gonna go ahead and dissect the whole image and move things around. It's gonna be quite intense to change the background somehow. It should definitely kind of go behind the character as well, so I'm not sure, that may take some time. The biggest challenge for me in here is to change everything I want to change, things like angle and everything, and not end up just completely replacing this painting with something absolutely different. This should be a change, an improvement, and not just a replacement. So let's go ahead and start doing it. I'm gonna search for a while with the whole composition, angle, and whatever, and then I'll tell you guys what I did and why. Let's start. Okay, so we have this so far. I stretched the character a lot to make the top part kind of smaller and the bottom bigger. It doesn't make much sense with a character that has a pretty much of a random free shape. But by doing that, I kind of made all the strokes of the original smaller at the top and bigger at the bottom, which was a good base to start with. Also, I made the head a lot smaller. Wow, this looks so vertically stretched. Is this the way it actually... Yeah, this is what it looks like. I wonder if the original was vertically stretched. I think it was. Well, it doesn't matter. The point is that I made the head a lot smaller. That's generally a good feature of some kind of character that's supposed to look like it's a really big one. And of course, after that, I was working really hard to make sure that we feel like we're looking at him from the bottom, especially around the neck area right here. And here you can see how this is actually viewed a bit from the top. This is not a very good angle to present someone who's supposed to be a giant. So I rotated that hole, that neck hole, away from us, and the head is actually looking from behind it at us, which is looking pretty awesome. This area works pretty well. Then I made sure to think a little bit about the lighting, so the sunspot is over there, like we don't actually see it, it's somewhere higher than where the canvas is ending, but we see some haze from the sun, and the respective lighting on the character is going on as well. And now I'm generally working on the values, making sure that all the planes, all the sides of the character's details that are facing downwards will be darker than the ones that are facing sideways, and the ones that are facing the light source will be the brightest ones. So that's a pretty standard routine of rendering that we always talk about. So this arm will go the darkest one, since the only actual active light it gets is from this area, and I don't think it will be lit all that much. I actually already did it too strongly. This is a dark soil, it's not really lit all that well. This hand is further away from us, so there's more air perspective coming into play, so it will be generally brighter, but this one will go even darker than what it is right now. So yeah, also made some kind of a front plane that is cutting away the character for us right here to show overlapping of different planes to bring a better perspective. So we have this plane, the foreground, then the character, and then the background, and then the air perspective-ish further away horizon mountains as well. We'll probably add a little house as well. Maybe we'll even make it smaller than this one, but definitely not as detailed as this one. Oh my god, I haven't seen this. This is so cool. The pretty legit reaction, I gotta say. But yeah, one thing I have a problem with is that we can't actually put this kind of expression on this guy, considering his scale and the general brushwork of the rest of the painting. This is too detailed, which is actually bad, like it's a mistake, because it looks weird, like it doesn't belong here. Why is everything a lot less detailed than this house? We are gonna have to make sure we do the proper brushwork, that it will be clear enough that this is a house, but it shouldn't be too defined. So I'll keep searching for now, adding a lot more bits of soil, because a giant anything that is breaking apart will break apart into millions of really tiny pieces, not only giant ones. And in here we literally have just two little pieces. I don't know, maybe these are some extra limbs, or I feel like these are the bits that are combining into the character, like this is the process. So I'm making it look a bit more dynamic to feel the actual movement going on. So yeah, for now let's continue and try to finalize it somewhat, although I already kind of like it, but we really need to bring that scale reference with the house, otherwise it's not really clear. If he's really big, you can't really tell ever if there's no scale reference. Alright, I think we're done here. So this is the final result. Here's the previous stage. I decided to move the head a bit to the left, since the character appears to be turned to the right side a little bit, and that would make the head go a bit to the left as the rotation goes generally. Or just really I centered it between the shoulders, that's all I did. More darkening on this arm as values go. On this round mass right here, a gradual darkening at the bottom. Here, and generally here as well. Some extra details right here, some kind of trees next to big rocks to show the scale that this is the tree, even though it's really close to us. And that's the head of the giant, even though it's really far away. Like, how big is that giant? You know how scale references work. Also, I think it works more like bushes than the trees, since if this would be a tree, it's almost of the size in which it should be when it would be here, next to this house over there. So I guess it's a tiny bush that would be almost just a dot if it would be over there. So now we have like 3 planes in the painting actually. The first one is here. This is how we enter the composition from the bottom left, which is a really good way to welcome the viewer into the painting. Then we see the house, and the rest of the thing is in the big main. Also, these giant rocks falling off of this bit right here, the cliff. By the way, one interesting detail in the original, and that I kept as well, is that on top of the golem's or demon's head, there's like special bits of ground that I interpreted as grass. This was literally some kind of top of the mountain somewhere, and everything else is from the bottom, from under the ground. So this is the only part that was actually somewhere on the surface, and this is how the whole mass actually went upwards. Kind of a cool detail. I'm not sure if that's what it was, but it does have a very specific darkening here, probably meaning that it's a former surface of the earth. So yeah, a lot more tiny pieces of soil, some clouds, also making sure I don't paint big clouds that cover the whole sky, because that would feel kind of like we're looking at a small space of the sky, and we want to make the sky big, so the character on its background would also look big. So don't paint big clouds when you want to show something giant. All the details around the giant should be small, taking small portion of an image. So yeah, I think it worked out pretty cool. Tell me guys what you think. I think it's really legit. I love the original idea as well. It just really lacks certain background, like overlapping of different layers of perspective. For instance, like behind the character, there's nothing else because it's hard to paint something behind something, I suppose. And in this case, when we see there's something behind, we see where the horizon is, like we see more defined in actual 3D space. Starting from there, we can easily make all the rest of these little tricks to make the giant look actually giant. I actually kind of almost instinctively followed the proper perspective in a way that if this is the horizon line, everything below it we can see from the top, and everything above it we start to look at things from the bottom, and this is from the top. Right here as well, this is the bottom. This is the bottom plane over here. So the geometry seems to be pretty legit. Also, I really like in the original this HDR lighting effect, like glowing effect. I assume it may have been done with just a special brush that works in add mode or something. Like if we choose the add mode on the brush settings and paint with something colorful, it will make this effect of glowing like this. So this is probably the method Carl used, but generally, like, it doesn't matter how it was done. I like the HDR effect that the glowing object is white in the center and reveals all the colorful glowing on edges of everything that is overlapping, and that's a pretty cool way to render bright light. So yeah guys, this is it. I gotta say, this turned out a lot more fun than I expected it to be. I don't know why. I felt like it's gonna be kind of a, hard work of changing the perspective and replacing a lot of things. But generally, I almost feel like I haven't changed everything, but changed something. Even though there's probably not a single unchanged piece in here. Nope, right here, I spotted it. This is the same. Also something in here too. Anyway, it's actually pretty close to the original. I almost didn't have to change any colors, by the way. Only some lighting on the character to make it not as like flat looking, to make a proper lighting at the bottom and proper lighting at the top to make the geometry read a bit better. But yeah, the process was really cool. I really liked it. It's fun. I don't paint a lot of giants. I remember many years ago I was trying quite a few times, but I failed just because I couldn't do all these tricks with how to make the scale actually work. I think it kind of worked out this time. Not sure. It looks pretty giant to me. So yeah, if you guys wanna submit one of your artworks for me to overpaint it like this, the link is in the end of this video, my Patreon page. You go there, you upload a picture, and just wait. And I thank you for watching if you did. I guess you did if you're here. Leave a like and subscribe, tell a friend. Overlap. Do whatever you want. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. This would make a good ad for some purple-colored energy drink.